So I don't always do a roundup video for the midweek fixtures that have gone on, but we had so much going on in midweek and so many talking points which I wanted to touch on that I thought I'd bring to you guys an episode of the Championship Roundup today, going over the fixtures which took place in midweek. As always, I'm interested to get your guys' view on what you made of all the games. And before we do get into anything, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors over at OneFootball. As always, their link will be in the top line of the description down below. If you want to look at some of the games which we are going to go over today in a little bit more detail, then you can go over to the app and do that. Also, make sure you do stick around on the channel, as tomorrow I will have my weekly score predictions coming out. So a lot of Championship football coming thick and fast at us at this point in time. But on there, you can go ahead and track all the games which are going on over the weekend. And we do have some big ones coming up in the Championship. But it is very handy to keep up to date with all the latest ongoings around the league. So like I said, I'd highly recommend it. Link in the description down below. So we'll touch on every team in today's video. We'll start out with the games which went on yesterday on Wednesday, and then we'll end the video with the games which went on Tuesday. So starting out at Ewood Park, where we saw Blackburn beating Brentford by 1-0. Now, we associate Brentford with playing fast football going forward, you know, brilliant tiki-taka stuff through the lines, but for the opening goal, it was Blackburn who sort of out-Brentford for that goal, if that makes any sense. But it was brilliant build-up to that one. Bradley Dack slotting in after just 11 minutes, and Brentford were really made to pay for the slow start to this game, really. Blackburn were on top from minute one. I do think that Blackburn have underachieved so far this season, but this may be the performance to start heading them in the right direction. It has lifted them up to 13th in the table now, and especially at certain instances of the first half, we were really seeing what Blackburn are capable of. Brentford certainly had chances though to get back into it. Ben Rama hit the crossbar from a free kick. They had a couple of other chances when they got in behind, but just couldn't quite put the final touch on things. The second half looked to be a little bit more level in this one. Blackburn had the chance to go 2-up. Adam Armstrong had one unbelievable chance, but David Ray made a terrific save to keep it at 1-0. But ultimately, I think Blackburn did enough to get all 3 points in this one. It was a good solid home performance that they'll be looking to carry on from. And then we had Hull beating Northend by 4-0. I thought that Preston's performance at the weekend against Derby was bad, but this was just at another level really. But to start things out with, we have to give credit to Hull City. I think watching them so far this season, when they are on their game, one of the best counter-attacking sides going forward in the Championship. Jared Bowen is just on a completely different level, and looking at both teams' lineups going into this game, I was a little bit nervous. We were playing Ryan Ledson out of position at right back. He was up against Grosicki, and I mean, that was always going to end one way really. Grosicki got the better of him for the first goal, so he just caresses the ball into the box with the outside of his foot, getting past Ledson, and then there's a bit of a muddle up between our two centre-backs, and Bowen is able to get in there to make it 1-0 to Hull. Bowen was playing in sort of a free role in behind Josh McGuinness for this one, playing as that number 10. He was causing absolute havoc throughout this game, and we just couldn't contain him. The second half didn't start out well for Northend. Ryan Ledson giving away a penalty. McGuinness stuck that away. After that, a really nice link-up between Josh McGuinness and Jared Bowen. Bowen then pulls the ball back, and then Grosicki has a tap-in to make it 3-0, and then Bowen's second in the game at a ridiculously tight angle manages to squeeze it past Declan Rudd. Rudd probably should have done better from that position, but I can't hold it against him because he was one of the few people from Northend who actually had a relatively decent game. You know, if it wasn't for Rudd, then Hull could have had about 6 goals in this game. And Northend did have a few chances going forward. I mean, we hit the post twice. Barkusen had a decent chance, but when you've not got that balance in your defence, it completely disrupts the rest of your team. You know, we ended this game playing Daniel Johnson on number 10 at left back. It was an unorganised mess from Northend from minute one for this game. What disappointed me was when we went 2-0 down, we sort of just accepted the defeat from there really. And worryingly enough, next for Northend, we got West Brom at home, so we'll need to turn it on for them. Hopefully we'll have players returning, but it's the worst performance of the season so far for Northend, no doubt about that, but Hull were excellent. Then we saw Middlesbrough climbing out of the bottom 3 with a 1-0 home victory over Barnsley. Ashley Fletcher scoring the only goal of the game. A decently worked goal from Middlesbrough, working well going forward on the counter-attack. Ashley Fletcher kept his composure in front of the goal when the Barnsley goalkeeper and defender both slipped, took it away to make it 1-0. The conditions in this one, like a lot of Championship matches in midweek, didn't seem to be the best, so that maybe hindered a bit of the football that was being played at times. Borough, I thought they had some decent chances in this one. Somblonga had a great chance in the first half where he sort of waltzed his way through the whole Barnsley defence, and he had another one in the second half. I thought he was quite unlucky not to score in this one. Seems to be a player who's got a bit more of his flair back going forward now as Somblonga. For Barnsley though, looking at their last few fixtures, a lot of missed opportunities for Barnsley. You know, games against Stoke, Blackburn and Middlesbrough. They've lost all 3 and they were all fairly decent opportunities to get something from, you know, sides that are sort of around them at the moment. The result does leave Barnsley in a bit of a bleak situation with them 8 points off safety after just 18 games this season. Barnsley's best chance of the game probably coming from Jacob Brown, who almost got an absolutely ridiculous goal from outside the box, but that one cannoned off the crossbar. So a good win for Middlesbrough, but you do worry for Barnsley at the moment. And then we have Forest beating QPR by 4-0. This far into the season, QPR have already conceded 36 goals. They're only side in the Championship yet to keep a clean sheet, and that defensive fragility is a bit of a worry, and it's becoming an ever-increasing issue for QPR, who have been slipping down the Championship lately after those defensive fragilities really have been highlighted lately. But Forest to the lead after 15 minutes of this one. QPR caught out by a set piece. Probably the game-changing moment came in the second half when Wallace was sent off for bringing down Joe Lolly as he was racing through on goal. After that, it was sort of the last 10 minutes when Forest took full control of this game. Lewis Grobban had a tap in to make it 2-0 after a nice assist from Sammy Amiobi, but the pick of the goals had to be João Carvalho. Now, we've not really seen all too much of Carvalho for Forest so far this season. Obviously, he wasn't ready at the start of the season, so he is coming back from an injury, but he's been slowly being dripped back into the team. But oh my god, one of the most outrageous goals we've seen so far this season. He picks the ball up out on the right hand side, drives at the QPR defence, takes it past about 4 defenders, nutmegs a QPR defender and leaves him for dead and just pokes it past Joe Lumley. Outrageous goal, outrageous finish, and when he's on it like that, absolutely unstoppable. And it is one of those goals that you just watch it and it brings you a bit of joy, really, whoever you support, apart from if you are a QPR fan, of course. And then Nottingham Forest wrapped it up with their 4th after Joe Lumley had spilt the ball and then Semedo had a tap in to make it 4-0. Absolutely brilliant for Forest. I think they're in a brilliant position at the moment with a game in hand as well. I think they got really good squad depth. If they add maybe a little bit more firepower in January, then top 6 is looking like a very strong case for them this season. And then we have Wednesday going up against Birmingham. Now, this one had a bit of extra flavour to it, given the comments Gary Monk had made about Birmingham manager Pep Clotet before the game had taken place. Interestingly enough, they didn't shake hands before the start of the game as well, which I thought was interesting. Clotet did go over to shake the hand of Gary Monk, but Monk ignored him, so obviously there's no love lost there. In terms of the game itself, it took until the second half for it to really get going. Both sides have had a couple of chances in the first half. Wednesday had a good one where they hit the bar, but it was Birmingham who took the lead. A nice finish from Jimenez to make it 1-0. It was really up until sort of the last 20 minutes when Wednesday started to throw everything at Birmingham going forward. Truman once again was the preferred goalkeeper for Birmingham. I thought he made some excellent saves in this one, keeping Birmingham in at times. But eventually Wednesday did find that equaliser, a brilliant finish from Kadeem Harris outside the box, a sweeping finish into the far post to make it 1-1. After that, Wednesday did have other chances. New Hugh had a very good effort, which was saved by Truman, and a couple of other chances which came from set pieces, but Birmingham held on for a point in the end. And I mean, Monk against Clotet, it's a very interesting situation. And then we have West Brom beating Bristol City by 4-1. I said a couple of weeks ago that looking at West Brom's next few fixtures, that will really tell us a lot about them, but they're making light work of it at the moment. Back-to-back wins for West Brom, 4 consecutive wins for them in the Championship, and they started this game out absolutely fantastically. They were getting in behind Bristol City with ease. I've said it a couple of times so far this season, Bristol City do tend to leave themselves a little bit open and exposed at the back at times, but brilliant work from Diane Garner. The ball threaded through to him and then a cheeky little back heel into Kieran Gibbs, and then suddenly it's 1-0 to West Brom. Pereira then makes it 2-0 with an absolutely exquisite free kick. Just so casually finesses it into the top corner. Absolutely brilliant technique. And from that point onwards, West Brom were in full control of this one, and they looked like scoring every time they were going forward, really. Bristol City did pull a goal back though in the second half through Jeju, and it looked like they might set up a dramatic end to it, but West Brom put that to bed with goals from Robson Kanu and Charlie Austin, although there was a hint of offside with both of them. But ultimately, I don't think anyone can take away from West Brom being the better side from this one. So a terrific performance once again from West Brom. Next up for them, it's against my team, Preston. So now moving into the Tuesday night game. So first of all, we had Cardiff going up against Stoke. Cardiff getting back to winning ways in this one. Bakuna scoring the only goal of the game. The first real chance which was created, and it was all a little bit too easy for them. Stoke defensively switched off a little bit. It was a long throw in which came in. A nice flick on from Gary Medine into Bakuna, and a smashing finish from him to make it 1-0. From that point onwards, there wasn't like the most quality in this game, really. Maybe it's a bit of a reality check for Stoke, who had won back-to-back games coming into this game, but going forward, couldn't really muster up much from this one. You know, they only had one shot on target. They had a lot of the ball, but weren't really very penetrating in the final third. Cardiff were solid whilst not being exceptional. Lee Tomlin, as he normally is for Cardiff, was really their bright spot going forward. He was the player going forward who was looking to create things. There still seems to be maybe a bit of a lack of pace for Cardiff going forward or something like that, but they got the job done in the end. At home so far this season, their record on the whole has been very good, and obviously the first win under the Neil Harris regime will go well for them moving forward. Then we saw Fulham beating Derby by 3-0 to go third in the Championship. Now, Championship football is a weird thing because we've seen Derby go from probably their best performance of the season so far at the weekend against North End to one of their worst at Craven Cottage in midweek. For this one, Derby were just never in the game. Fulham took the lead after just 7 minutes of brilliant ball in from Camera into Bobby Reid, and from that point Fulham were in cruise control for this one, really. They doubled their lead in the first half, a set piece coming in and Mitrovic having that towering header to make it 2-0, and then with a Mitrovic assist, Tom Kenny wrapped it up late on. I don't like digging out players, but Roos for Derby, I thought could have done better for all 3 of the goals, really. He's not really a goalkeeper who has much presence when balls are coming into the box, and that is something that puts their pressure on the back four. But talking about the back four, as a whole defensive unit, Derby were just nowhere to be seen for this one. Fulham had it really easy. Talking about Fulham, though, going up to 3rd in the Championship, maybe they are finally starting to show their potential. You know, a few weeks ago, we were talking about Scott Parker not being the right man, perhaps. But as other sides have fallen off lately around that top half of the table, Fulham seem to have found their spot with 3 consecutive wins, and if they carry that on, you'd think they would be in contention for the top 2. Then we had Huddersfield drawing 1-1 with Swansea City. Swansea, quite similar to Preston at the moment, I feel like have lost a little bit of momentum since the international break, and it's really been the teams below the top 6 not being able to capitalise on the poor form of Swansea and Preston lately that were still both sat in there. But nevertheless, a point away at Huddersfield. They did take the lead for this one, Fulton with a smashing finish, but Huddersfield managed to level things up just before half-time. A little bit of fortune in that goal. Alex Pritchard had a shot from outside the box, which was deflected into the path of Colin Grant, and then Colin Grant in a one-on-one situation, one of the best players to have in that case. A nice finish from him to make it 1-1. Speaking of Alex Pritchard, though, someone who is starting to become the player that I thought he would be this season in the Championship. I think he's starting to get his confidence back now. He's been a lot more involved with the play with Huddersfield going forward. It looked like he tired a little bit in the second half, but if he can see out a full 90 minutes sooner rather than later, then Huddersfield could have a real gem on their hands there. One of the main talking points from this game, though, was the Chalobah red card, and I mean, he did go up to Byers and sort of move his head into the direction of him there, which, you know, is seen as a red card, but the way that Byers went down was a bit theatrical, to say the least. I'm not sure how he'll be recovering from that. He went down like he was shot, and there was minimal contact, if any at all, really. But that was given as a red card, and the game ended level. Luton picked up a massive 3 points against Charlton Athletic after they got on a bit of a dodgy run, considering some of the other results at the bottom of the Championship. To pick up all 3 points in this one cannot be underestimated, and they did have to come from behind as well. Jonathan Lecco scoring a fantastic goal on the counter-attack for Charlton after just 7 minutes, but Luton brought it back in that first half, and Panzer with an absolutely smashing finish to level things up, and Izzy Brown with a well-taken goal in the second half to make it 2-1. Luton, they did have other chances. Collins had a couple of decent ones which fell his way, but the 2 goals were enough in the end. In terms of Charlton, another frustrating one in the fact that they've not got anything from another game where they have taken the lead from, but it's hard to be critical of them at the moment because obviously they find themselves in a brilliant position, but the injury list is absolutely ridiculous at Charlton at the moment. I think they have 12 players unavailable for this one. Once again, they couldn't name a full bench. They could only name 6 substitutes, so it's a tough situation for Charlton at the moment. They just have to try and get through this period, pick up some points here and there, and hopefully sooner rather than later they'll be getting players back into the starting 11. We have Millwall drawing 2-2 with Wigan. Wigan, I would have thought, a little bit frustrated after this one, considering they took the lead twice in this game. After 3 minutes, Pilkington taking the lead. Some nice work from Kiefer Moore, who, on the whole, Wigan so far, I think has looked very isolated. For this one, they look to get more players in and around him, and he can be a lot more effective when that is the case. A nice finish from Pilkington. Unfortunately, though, for Wigan, as clinical as Millwall are from set pieces, they managed to level things up, Hutchinson making it 1-1. In the second half, Wigan retook the lead through Robinson, but once again, Millwall responding. The ball swung into the box, and then Matt Smith with a looping header making it 2-2. From that point onwards, Wigan still had the chances, though, to go on and win this game. I thought they did look better in this one. You know, they have really struggled from open play so far this season for hitting the back of the net. For this one, they looked a lot more threatening, but it's just not happening for them at the moment, and they do currently find themselves in the bottom 3. And then to round things off, we had Leeds beating Reading by 1-0. Leeds are looking to make that gap bigger between themselves and 3rd place, and looking to solidify their place in the top 2. But for this one, there wasn't really much in the match. Obviously, Reading is not an easy place to go to, so this 3 points can't be underestimated for Leeds, really. The goal, absolutely brilliant counter-attacking move. It came from a Reading free kick. Casilla made the save, and it took them about 10-15 seconds to just get up the pitch. A brilliant assist from Helder Costa into the path of Jack Harrison, who has come up with some big goals for Leeds lately to seal them and winning this one, getting all 3 points from it. For Reading, they did have a few chances for this one, a couple from set pieces. Mate had a good one which was saved by Casilla. Morrison had one which flashed over the bar, but Leeds also had their fair share of chances, as they usually do look to stamp their authority on the game. Some nice passages of play. Dallas was heavily involved in a lot of their chances, and it's another clean sheet for Leeds as well. Something that cannot be underestimated about Leeds at the moment is how tight they've been able to keep things at the back. Another clean sheet for them, only 10 goals conceded so far this season. Leeds are going well, and despite them sitting in the top 2, you still feel as if they've got another gear that they can click up into. But there you guys have it. There were all the results that did take place in midweek. In terms of the best result, I think I'm going to have to give it to Hull City for beating North End by 4-0. It was a dominant display for them, and it was a long way back to Preston. For the best goal, a few contenders for this one. I think myself, I'm going to give it to João Carvalho. It was such a cheeky goal against QPR with that nutmeg. Absolutely brilliant technique. But there you guys have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video. So if you're going to enjoy it, make sure you do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. Make sure you subscribe for a bit of regular Championship content. Stay tuned on the channel tomorrow when we will have our score predictions video out. But apart from that, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.